I'm very glad to speak with you on that topic. So what is the circular economy? Basically, is everything that refers to the economic activity and the big opportunity actually for the makers as well, and for in terms of business that is related to the elderly population. As we all know, like the elderly population is increasing like drastically, and this is going to be a major challenge in terms of society, but also a big opportunity for business. So we'll not speak much about how it will change for society, but we'll speak more about products because we are with product people here. Just a few metrics. So today there are 1 in 6, so there are the population of China right now in the world is 60 years old and above. And 25 years from now, so in a few decades from now, it will be like up to 2 billion. And this will totally change the society as it is, because all these people will have to take care of them, will have to entertain them, will have to, to find solution for them, because, and on top of that, their economy is very big. So they have a lot of, political power, they have a lot of power in the society. Plenty of people are also money, the senior that's normal. You're working all your life, you have some savings and so on. So we'll have to deal with that. So this is just a last slide, just to, well, we all know that, but it's to give you to know where you are. So it's always good to know in which generation you are from. So myself, I'm early Gen Y. I'm 1982, and I think many of you probably are Gen Z. But this topic really speaks about all of us. We are all going to be the problem, especially right now we are dealing with the problem of the baby boomers who are entering the third age. So let's say the generation of my parents who are in their 70s. And when we start in this age, that's exactly the moment when you are retired, when you have different needs. So, and after, many people also in this generation will live up to 90, some of them to 100 years old. So it's going to be a huge society challenge for us to deal with. So we'll start with which our product do you believe will become mainstream and essential for that category of the population in the next 10 years?
That's a very great question. As you mentioned, from the WHO, by 2050, actually between 2015 to 2050, the proportion of the elderly people who over 60 years old will increase from 12% of 22% globally, reaching about 21 billion elderly people. And so personally, the major community or major issue is their health, is about health. So every product about healthcare is what I'm very concerned. And in my professional career, I focus 3 types of hardware. First is something can improve the physical health of the elderly. The second is improving the mental health of the old people. And the third is how to monitor the emergency or how to monitor their health. So I can use 2 examples of some products. First is, as we know, the wheelchair. A wheelchair is very common for elderly. And at Robotics, we make different robots, and we find if we equip a robot arm on the wheelchair, it can help the elderly to do many things, such as they can help the disabled or the elderly to picking up some heavy things by the robot arm, or open the door and close the door, and because if we concern the elderly people, sometimes they open or close the hard door, it may need some some pain or some hurt. And
A robotic arm on their wheelchair.
Yes.
So you have already designed that. You already have
we are developing.
You are developing, and in the next 10 years we will have this kind of product.
Absolutely. And we think it's not a commercial product. It's also a company to do the corporate social responsibility. It's like a wheelchair and a robot arm on top of the wheelchair, and the elderly can use a controller like a 3D mouse and to control the robot, and it can do something also. It's kind of the robot. This is the first example. And the second example is what we bring is a mental care. What the mental care can do for elderly. Actually, we know like depression, dementia, and Alzheimer. This kind of mental disease are very common among the elderly, and we also know it's really difficult to cure the mental disease. The major way to treat this kind of mental problem is to monitor their mental, to keep the mental healthy. So campaigning is very crucial for this kind of mental problems. And of course, the elderly people may have kids, they can accompany, but the pet accompany is also different. As we know, many developed countries like European people, they have pets when they were child, but it's difficult for them to feed the pets when they get old because maybe they have dementia, it's hard to take care. Also hard to take care of themselves, but it's also difficult to take care of their pets. But the companion of pets is very important to improve their health, the mental health. So that's why we're developing this kind of robot pet. You don't need to feed it. They cannot. They don't need to eat anything but eat electronic power. That's all. And you can interact with the elderly and to companion. That's why we this kind of.
Alright. So in details about products, well, wearables of course, because what you need is sensors. Try and get the data from the person's body. So sensors definitely. What's the best way to get sensors right now? It's wearables. But you also have different types. Like we also have a radar sensor that you put on top of the bed that senses if you breathe, like the rhythm of the person breathing. Is he still on the bed or not? If he's not, probably he fell from the bed. You can also put that in any room to sense if there is any fault, so you can also come and rescue the person. So yeah, definitely that. And why? Because the most serious diseases, they take a long time to develop. Chronic diseases, slow development diseases. So what you can do is use those sensors, use the data that you get from them, put it in front of AI if you want, because now it's very, it's very fashionable to use AI. But definitely try to recognize patterns within, according to the person's body, according to the lifestyle of the person. Try and prevent like chronic diseases before they happen. Try and correct, so that the person at the end of the day, instead of having like a huge burden, a huge cost for society at some point, and maybe not able to live at all, or live just like recluse in some retirement home, maybe throughout his life actually he should maybe have a better lifestyle, maybe be more proactive. It's not only like, hey, I have a problem, I go to the doctor, he cure my stuff. And whatever the doctor says, by the way, is pure truth, right? Maybe I should be more proactive in the first place, get my own data, and see if there is anything that I can do, that I can tweak, also to, at the end, live longer, better, more independent, using that set of technology. So I would say, yeah, wearables, AI definitely. But the thing we do also is, because we're talking about preventing instead of curing, is that we also introduce traditional Chinese medicine, because it's kind of like anchored in the Chinese medicine to prevent instead of curing, as opposed to our, back home, it's more like, hey, I do whatever I want. Although now they talk about like eat more veggies, eat more fruits, have a healthier lifestyle, do more sports and this type of thing. But But usually you see people being like, oh, I have an issue, go to the doctor, do whatever the doctor says, and done.
But do you believe, like in the products, like which kind of product? You said one of the product could be on top of the bed or chasing you in your house, so it's kind of the future of habitat. And the other one could be things that you are wearing. So what would that look like?
So would be any product that allow you to get the data. So smart watches, smart bands, but also to help you be safe. As we said, the key is that that old person can stay home longer.
Yeah.
But the same way when you look old people, they change their house, the layout of their house when they're old, so they can stay longer. For example, they install like handles on the toilet so they can get up easier. Why not putting sensors also? Safety sensors like water detectors, gas detector, home intrusion like door sensors, fall detectors. So you can also actually use that technology to improve the safety around your house without having the need to just go to a retirement home, or basically there's no more technology, but there's just somebody coming at your door every half an hour, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could. So the goal is for you to stay longer at home and help your health.
Yeah, that's a good point. All of our customers that they are good. They all want to live longer, healthier at home. No one wants to end up in a nursery home or in this kind of hospital house, that's for sure. So yeah, more sense of money. So going back to you, Hunter, which region in the world are you focusing on in priority and why?
Currently, the major market of like some for the elderly is in developed countries, which has high proportion of elderly people, because that area has higher economic and educational standard. It's easier to they are easier to accept this kind of innovative products. And they have willingness to buy, and they also can afford it. That's why we choose this kind of developed market. Also, I should mention, we sell to the customer or distribute directly. It's more like B2C business. But from reports, by 2050, the 2 or 3 elderly people will live in low and medium income countries. That's a signal to us technology companies. It means we need to make more cost efficient and more mainstream products for meet the demand of much more elderly people. I think that's the future.
More times you have governments that push this type of innovation, or sometimes you have governments that just don't care. As a matter of fact, we started with B2C, and because of the cost, the unit cost of the solution, because it's like an ecosystem of products, it's quite heavy. Didn't work. We tried Jindong type of thing. Right now in China, we're working with governments and retirement homes, which works much better, scaling wise also. But the thing is that it's because the Chinese government is convinced and is pushing and is subsidizing and is also, as a matter of fact, pushing the ecosystem to use new solutions. In France, for example, you could talk to retirement homes and be like, hey guys, first of all, most of them they are like very slow innovators. They don't really want to introduce new products, even if it's more convenient. So I would say that the structure of the ecosystem and the philosophy of them is important. But sometimes also it goes against their own business model. A retirement house wants to have like renters, wants to have people. You bring things that allow people not to go to retirement house. So the government is to be like, understand that and be like, hey guys, alright, but the keys, like in the big scheme of things, we need to have healthier people, right? Living longer, and anyway, the bulk of like as you said, the number of elderly people is going to go up. So their business model is still insured anyway for decades to come, right? But still, you need the public force to also impulse that type of.
Singapore is doing a lot as well. I would say right now in the current situation is really about in the West is very advanced on this senior tech because we don't take care of our elderly, like we are very bad kids. So while in Asia we have this really like culturally we take care here of the elderly much better than what we do. I think we are very bad kids in Europe compared to Chinese especially. And that's why our current solution, like wearable or all these sensors and so on, are very more accepted in the West, especially the countries where the problem is very obvious is France, Italy, Japan also is very famous for that, but actually number one is Italy. That's why they suffer a lot with the COVID because many people died, many elderly people died there. France too. But mainly the US, Canada, and Western Europe. But I believe in the future, of course, the problem will be global. And my wife, for example, she still believes she will live with my son when she will be like 80 years old. And I think there is a very low chance that will happen. So there is a part of cultural thing. And then I believe like China as well will also change in the way that people will want to stay at their own place, kids will not want to live with their elderly anymore. So all this hardware solution, to live longer at home by yourself will grow a lot. So I think it will expand everywhere. And the last question, and after we'll have a quick session of Q&A. So what will be the key success factor for the adoption of all these new technologies?
I agree with Yoann and Lauren. Policy must be a very crucial thing. In China, the policy, we think is good because I have an idea. Is like my grandpa, he worked for government before he retired, and now he live in he's 94 years old. He live in the retail house. It's almost free because the government pay for that, and they work for the government before. So I think this kind of elderly people, and we have many elderly people work for the government before. So policy purpose also. Besides, we think the elderly people is vulnerable. Maybe some people don't think so, but some people think it's vulnerable. So the policy about doing business with elderly is kind of sensitive in some region, like some legal issues. Also the insurance policy in some area. It means who will pay for the elderly. By this kind of advanced local arm for the wheelchair is about almost 100,000 RMB. Who will pay for it? Insurance pay for it, or your family pay for it? Yeah. And like this kind of policy. I think this is the first thing. The second thing, as I mentioned, is education and the economy. It means the value of your customer, how big the market is. I think the high education and the economic region can have much more demand about this kind of innovative product for the elderly. Also the market already proven. The third thing I think is the finance. Finance means how much money we are invested in this industry, and it means how many companies, how many engineers will make much more good products. Will provide much more good service for the elderly people. And the first thing I think is the modern technology level. It means how easy the product the elderly people will use. Because elderly people maybe have some health problem. It's not like young people. So your product must be very easy to use, like some smartphone for the elderly. It may have very few functions, but it must be very easy to use. Otherwise, they cannot use it. So and also how many functions the small device can have. It's also related. All things related to the modern technology that I think these four elements that is big.
Thank you, Beryl. You gave a great answer, actually. Yeah, I was about to say policy also. Just so you mentioned everything almost, so I would just complete with data protection, because sensors, you get data, so you need to make sure that I think most of the people, they would be maybe, they would suspect technology to use the data, especially in Europe, it's a real subject, so making sure that, yes, the elderly people are not abused by the price or by the salespeople, this type of thing. Making sure that we have some type of certification for solutions maybe, but yeah, making sure also that the data we collect is well protected and is actually useful to the person. Education, yeah, as you mentioned, they need to be sure, they need to be convinced that technology is good for them, right? So that generation, the one we have in the West, is not really technology, versed, as opposed to China.
Yes.
China, they like the penetration of technology is crazy high. It will improve as we grow old. For example, for us it would be very normal to use the sensor or whatever. But yeah, definitely educating and telling them that, hey, actually that technology, by the way, who cares about the technology? Here is what you can do with it. Here is what you can get from it. So that would be something, and most of the people won't actually know. And then making sure that everybody aligns on the ecosystem and pushes towards the end direction, so we can really actually have actionable solutions to improve the life of the elderly people. And yeah, that would be, and make the products that's of course cheaper, scale, but then you can do so if the business is growing, which links back to the actual policy and educational side of things, so the market can scale and make cheaper and better products.
Yeah, I agree on the policy, pushed by the government. So in France, for example, for products I know, there is a subsidy based on the, I think it's like 30 euro per month for the subscription. Already a support from the government on that. So this is helping our customers to push to the end user. And after, it's true that in China, the elderly all have a smartphone, and probably many Chinese people don't know that the penetration, of smartphone on the elderly population in Europe is very low. My grandmother, 90, she passed away last year, 95 years old. She did not even have a mobile phone. She never got even a mobile phone. She didn't need, and she's useless. And many people are like that actually. So for them, a smartphone is blowing their mind, And while in China, it's very common to have elderly people with a smartphone, as we all know. So there is this convergence of smartphone and technology use in China is very, very high. And then culturally, it's still very different. We will still take care of, one of the family members will take care of the elderly, so there will be a family elder. So there is not really a need for, this kind of external product, like a smartwatch with a SOS button, because there is usually a helper, which is a family member. This is very common in China. While in the West, this is totally unusual. So that's why we try to let them stay in their house as long as possible. And after, when we have no choice, when your grandma starts to let the light on and leave, at the fireplace, on as well, it starts to put grandma in a nursery home. And that's terrible. No one's like that. It's very expensive. It's a burden for the family as well. It's sad itself because trust me, no one here wants to end up in this kind of place. Some are very familiar. If you look at in the US, in Florida, this kind of giant village with beautiful villa and with many elderly having a great time. But yes, there are a lot of things. The convergence will come, I think, with the adoption of more technology, and I think we will stop on that. And if you have any question, let us know. We have 10 minutes together. If you have any question. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Awesome talk. Thank you so much. Useful information.
We tried previously to go, as I said, B2C, direct to consumer, Xindong, and so on, but the set Because the thing we do is that if you don't have the whole set, it's useless. So you need the whole set. The whole set that exists is expensive. So, and then it's too expensive. So, you know, you need to, yeah, there is a sweet spot basically where we scale and the price gets acceptable for retirement houses, for example, because it brings an added value service to them, and so for them the price is not such an issue then, as opposed to just like selling one-to-one. And I'm not even talking about the marketing effort here for people that are like definitely not ready to hear your message.
Yeah.
So you know.
All right. Yeah. You more focused on to see the market, right?
Yes, thank you for your question. I think there are two elements in the means B2C. One element is how difficult, how complex the solution is. Like this kind of, it's very easy solution. This product this solution is not customized. So for this kind of, it can be direct to sell to the customers. But for some very complex solution, like provide a smart home for elderly, it's impossible to educate the elderly to build this kind of house by themselves. So sell this kind of solution or provide this kind of solution to service provider is more convincing. So it's more like a B2B business. Another element I think is about time. Apparently the elderly they're not very familiar with the technology product, not familiar with smartphone. But when we get older, when we become elderly, we are new, we are generation Y, generation Z. We are educated, we more familiar with this kind of, maybe we are engineers. And when we become 60 years old, of course we can build a smart home by ourselves. So in that time, maybe we can do more things. Conclusion, B2C, B2B is all good because the end users is the elderly. So
we can ask, but thank you